Hello. In our Grade Center 1 video, we covered the topics of the basic Grade Center. What we're going to do right now is we're going to focus on the last three topics on your screen right here. That will be categories, setting external grade, and setting up weighted column. Now the weighted column is what we're going to focus on, but what you will see is how categories and the setting of the external grade all interact with that function. So let's go ahead back into the full Grade Center again. Remember, we access it this way, clicking on Full Grade Center, and here we are. And the first thing we're going to see, let's just scroll over. When you get into your class the first time, you'll invariably almost always see this. You'll see a total column with a green check mark and a weighted total column that is blank. The very first thing we need to do is to set the external grade. What this means is that at the very top of the screen, when a student clicks on their My Grade link, they will see this weighted total column. It is the external grade. It'll be at the top. It'll be bold. It'll be prominent, and it's important. So not this total column or not any other column, but we want the weighted total column to be the external grade. So I go ahead and I click on this down arrow. See, we hover and there it shows up right there. Click, set as external grade. It's that simple. I'll show you again. So right here, click, set as external grade. Notice now that the weighted total is the external grade via the green check mark. Next thing we can do, it's optional, but I would recommend you do it, is to delete this total column. Goodbye. It does nothing but create problems. And the reason why that is, the total column is calculating the points that are total, what is important to our students, and what is important to everything that we do in the Grade Center is the percentage of how well the student is doing. Did the student get 80% on this exam? Did the student get 90% participation? Is the student at a 90% for the course thus far? That 90% of the course thus far, as an example, is what we're talking about when we talk about the weighted total. Now I'm going to open up the weighted total parameters right now to set it up, just to take a look at it, and then we're going to exit it and go ahead and show you how to set up categories. But first I want to show you where categories work before I show you what categories are. And where they work is within the weighted total column. So allow me to click here, again, edit. You're always looking for the word edit. I click. We can name it here. We could call it your total grade if we wanted. I like that. Your total grade. Something like that for the students. If you don't want to call it weighted total anymore. I've seen names like that faculty use. It's a good idea. As we scroll down, this selected columns, this is where the action is, as it were. So, and I'll just do something very quickly, and then I'll undo it. But I'll do it very quickly just to show what I mean. These are categories. So if I say all assignments in this course, I select them, I select assignments, I can see all the assignments that are part of this category. I can click test, I can see how many tests are in this category, blog, any of these categories. Let's just say assignment, click this arrow, make that worth 50% of the student's grade, and I'll pick quiz 1 from the columns, the various columns, there they are, all the columns in the course, and I can make that worth 50%. Now, this is a silly little example, but lo and behold, it's 100%. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Lo and behold, it's worth 100%, and this would be a perfectly functioning weighted grade column. But we're not going to do that right now. We're going to leave it blank for now. I'm going to come back to this. I just want to show you what these categories are here and how they work. Because what we're going to do is see how to assign these categories to a column, and then how to actually create categories from scratch before we do this. Okay? Let's go ahead and cancel out of here. And let's go to, I'm going to scroll over here. As you recall, all these across the top are your various assessments in the course. Here we go. We'll scroll back, let's go this way. What I'm looking for is the research papers. There's 2 of them. And the research papers are worth 30% of the student's grade total in the weighted column. So I could take 2 research papers and I could make them each worth 15%. That would work. But how about if we had 6 research papers, or an odd number, 7? We had 30% of the student's grade via 7 research papers is kind of a problem. The solution is to use a category. And here's what we do. We create a category called research papers. So again, where would I do that? None of this makes sense except for manage. Manage categories. Simple enough, right? Here's all the categories in the course. What I need to do is create one called research papers. And look, create category. Couldn't be simpler. Click it. Research papers. If I want description, I can put a description in. Not a problem. Click submit. And we now have a category called research papers. There it is. Here I can either edit it or delete it. What I really want to do at this point is just click OK. Just move this over so you can see this. Click OK. And go back to the Grade Center. Okay, now why we did this, as I explained before, is we want to go ahead and assign that category to these columns. So see, here's research paper 1. Edit, column information. Come down here. Category, you notice now there's no category. I'm going to select research papers. I'm going to hit, and then I'm going to select submit. So notice as I hover over here, it now tells me in the information, see if I move the information which is over here, you see as I hover my mouse here, it now tells me that research papers is the category. Notice it doesn't say it here. But let's go and put that category in here now. Again, click the little arrow, find the edit word, edit column information, scroll down to categories, assign this category, research papers, submit. Okay. Let's go ahead now and set up our weighted grade column. Now before we do that, let me just review. So what we had to do was we had to assign a category to a particular group of columns because we want to use the category in the weighted grade total. So we actually had to create a category, which we did via manage categories, create categories, and then we assigned them via, let's go back over, via edit column information. And then we selected those categories. So here we go. We're ready now. Now we're actually ready to do what we set out to do, which is to set up our weighted total. Let's go ahead and do it. So I click here. I click edit information. And here I am. So here's our parameters. What we're going to do is all assignments are going to be worth 40%. This is exactly what's in our syllabus. So I select the category of assignment, and there's a lot of them. See them all? And it makes this 40%. Notice that the total weight is now, oops, sorry, there's a squirrely mouse here. Notice that the total weight is now worth 40%. Next, we're going to take research papers, remember that? And there's 2 of them, there they are. And those are going to be worth 30%. I can also point out to you a couple of things in this field, and I'm going to just take a little digression here. We can drop grades. We can drop the highest grade, which, why would we do that? We could drop the lowest grade, the 2 lowest grades, or the 1 lowest grade. We could do that. We could either weigh the columns equally or proportionally. Given that all of the point values are 100 anyway, there's no reason to even consider this. But if you had a course that was set up with, say, some discussions are worth 26 points, and some are worth 14 points, not a good way at all to set up a course, but you might inherit something like that. Well, you could use this function right here to weigh those columns within that category proportionally to the point values. I just wanted to point that out to you, but really by default, we're going to live here because we're hoping that all of your columns are 100 points. Okay, so far we have the research paper category, 30%. We have the category of assignment is 40%. We have participation worth 20%. And I don't have a category for that. What I have is one participation column. And here it is. Column. Click up here, and that is worth 20%. And finally, we have all discussions, and that's category, are worth the remaining 10%. And you can see that by the total weight down here being 90%. So we need 10 more. Discussion, click it, 10, and it's done. So now I'll scroll down, submit, and notice that our weighted total column is working. So our little student here, Mr. Ms. account test, is at 90.4%. Let's go ahead and put the participation grade in and see what happens. Remember, participation is 20% of the student's grade. We'll give the student 100. Watch what happens when I enter. Watch what happens in the weighted total when I enter this grade. It goes up. See that? Let's give the student a 0. Watch what happens. It goes down. So, now you've seen a demonstration on how to set up categories, how to apply them to categories, and finally, how to put it all together within a weighted column. And remember, what we're doing is we're using percentages, not points. So by setting all assessments at 100 points, takes points out of the equation. Because in Blackboard, as in any other learning management system, points and percentages do not play well in the same sandbox. Okay? So just the way to fix that always is to use 100 points for all of your assessments. And that's it. Thank you. Hope you've enjoyed this.